Hey y'all, Nicole Mason, owner of Ivory Beau, here today just to chat about the history of Ivory Beau. So, what a lot of people don't know is that Simply Savannah events actually came before Ivory Beau. So, when I first moved to Savannah, I had just gone to my cousin's wedding after college and I really wanted to be a wedding planner. I was like, that looks so fun. I loved watching her wedding planner in action. And so I reached out to every single wedding planner in the city, begging for an internship or a job. And I feel like out of 30 people, only 2 replied. And Layla Mayville was the owner of Simply Savannah Events. So she had a focus on green weddings and eco-friendly techniques that can be used for weddings. And she ended up giving me an internship. So I think I worked maybe 3 or 4 weddings with her, and this was in 2012. And then it just was really crazy because her husband got an opportunity to move up to New York for a new job. And so she approached me and said, hey, I've got 5 weddings on the books for the following year. Are you interested in buying it? And I remember I called my dad at the time and I was like, oh my gosh, look, I've got this opportunity. And he told me to go to school and find a real job was what he told me. I think I cried the whole night. I was so sad. I was like, that was not what I was expecting him to say. I thought he'd be excited. And at the time I was working at David's Bridal, which is where I fell in love with wedding dresses and helping brides. But lo and behold, he called me the next morning and he apologized and he was like, Nicole, I was thinking about it and I think you should do it. You don't have a family, you don't have kids, you're not married, you don't have, a bunch of financial obligations. Why not? Why not try it? And what's the worst that can happen? This would be a great time to start a company. And a lot of people don't have that opportunity to start a company until they're older. So, why not? Let's do it. You do it, not let's, but, and so, yeah. So in 2012, I'm probably messing up all the dates here, got the LLC together, and the LLC to this day for Ivory Beau is Simply Savannah Events LLC. And I still actually talk to one of those first couples. Actually, I think 2 of them have stayed in touch, and that's been amazing. At the time, I did the wedding planning at home, and I worked part-time at David's Bridal, and it was really cool. I fell in love with wedding planning, but one thing about me is I'm very active. I like to be moving around a lot. And so, not that wedding planning isn't active, but I found that at a lot of the, weddings, I'm watching everybody else. And, I got really interested in the florist specifically. And at the time, I also was obsessed with blogging. I would spend hours blogging every night and looking at wedding blogs and getting inspiration and ideas. And, I just was like, I want to do what the florist is doing. That looks so fun. I want to be more involved in that creative aspect and that creative element. And so then I just tried to figure it out little by little. And it just kind of became a thing that most of our clients would hire me for planning, and then they'd also choose me to do their flowers. And at the time it was just me in my kitchen, and it was a mess and it was a lot of work because I didn't really have anybody to help, and I had moved from Washington, so I didn't know a ton of people here. So it was really crazy at first. And then while I was at David's, I met a girl who had come to David's from Loren Bell, which used to be a bridal shop in Savannah. And they had closed, so that's how she had then gotten the job at David's. And she approached me and she was like, we should open a bridal shop. And I was like, So I called my dad and I was like, hey, this girl I know at David's is saying we should open a bridal shop. And he said, that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And you should not do that. And then, again, I spent all night crying I was like, what? I thought this was such a good idea. And then the next morning, he calls me and says, actually, I think this is a pretty good idea. Like, yeah, why not? Like, you should start doing some research. And it's a lot more expensive to open a bridal shop than it is to be a one-woman show wedding planner. So the process for that was like really intense. Like, her and I spent all summer putting together a huge business plan. We worked with the SBAC in Savannah to get a loan. We didn't have any collateral. We did, like, I think the only thing I owned at the time was like a cheap car that, it was nothing fancy. So, it was a lot. It was a lot of work, but we fortunately had really great people who believed in, our vision and our excitement. So, yeah, it was crazy. And then, we got our business plan together, and I still have it. It's like in this huge binder with really nice paper, and, we even branded it. Like, it's got its own fonts, and it's girly and cute. And, I remember Stephen George, like our biggest cheerleader, he just loved it. He thought it was the cutest thing ever. And then I remember getting the call, we were so nervous because we didn't even get to go to try to get the loan. Like, they present it on your behalf. And I remember when they called, and I was at David's Bridal, and they're like, you got approved. And it makes me emotional just thinking about it. And so then it's like, oh my gosh, like, I get to quit my job. Like, I get to just like work for myself. This is so exciting. And yeah, we had no idea what we were doing. So, anyway, now that I've cried talking to myself on a camera, it's totally normal. But anyway, so we got a loan, and, we opened our first shop. And I remember even like the landlord, Jim Dixon. So we were located on Abercorn, really close to Oglethorpe Mall. And I remember like our first location, like meeting with the landlord, and he just kind of, he thought like, oh, these silly little girls, like, what are they doing? Like, they don't know what they're doing, which we didn't really. I mean, we thought we did, but we didn't have a clue. And so we were able to sign a lease, and it was in the Jim Dixon building on Abercorn. And it's where Loren Bell was originally. And so it was nice. We didn't have to do a lot of build out or really anything. They already had beautiful dress racks and mirrors and everything. And I just like, we went to our first market, which that was probably like one of the most stressful things. Like, it's very exciting, but when you first are getting started, we had just researched stuff online, and we chose our first collection of designers, and then we waited for our dresses, and then we opened, and then we almost went out of business like 3 times. So I think that needs to be in the next video. So if you're interested, feel free to come back.